Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please indicate if you can hear loud and clear. You can use the chat window to type your response with me. Lovely. Thank you, Tash. And Matadishi, can you hear? Sam and Matadishi, are you there? Okay, anyway, we'll continue. Herman's here tonight and he'll be taking you through the phases of the World 301 online tutorial, helping you prepare for your upcoming project submission. Thanks again to everyone for coming, and thank you to you too, Herman. Over to you, Herman.
Okay, thank you, Genevieve, and welcome to you. I hope that you are going to find the session useful. Um, as you may know, having attended or watched or listened to previous sessions like this, you have the option of asking questions by typing your questions into that dialog box um, in the left-hand top corner of your screen. So at any time when you need to ask something, simply type your question into that dialog box. So what is the idea with work integrated learning? Why do we have this kind of module? Could I ask you if you have any idea about the reason for having this module? If you are willing to share it with us by typing in a response in the dialog box. What do you think? What is the main reason for having this module as part of your program? Anybody willing to take the opportunity to respond? Maybe tell us what you think. Okay, it looks like everybody, or it looks like most people are a bit shy. So I'll try and sum it up for you. Okay, I see Dash is going to have a go. Thank you, Dash. Let's see what Dash thinks about the reasons for having this module as part of your study program. Just waiting for Dash to type in the response there. Anybody else feels like making a contribution regarding this question, then you are welcome to type in a response there. It's also typing. That's brilliant. Thank you for participating. I appreciate that. Okay, we are just waiting for Dash to finish with a contribution on this one. So this is work integrated learning. It's normally a module which you are required to take in your third year of study. So for many of you, this will be one of the last modules you complete before you receive your qualification. So it's a good thing to think about reasons why we are doing it. And Dash is typing there for us. Oh, brilliant. Dash is saying that I'm not sure if Dash is male or female, so I hope I'm assuming that you are female. I hope female, yeah, okay. Dash says that she originally thought it was just an opportunity to get feedback on your IMM experience. But now that she has had a better look at what is required for this project, she understands that it's an opportunity for application. And that is, I think that's a beautiful summary of what this is all about, an opportunity for application. Let's look at the first slide here and read through those points with you. It's an opportunity to think back about all the modules that you've completed so far as part of your program. You will see that if you start thinking back about what you've learned, all the modules that you've completed, and you give it enough time to reflect on that, you will see a clear picture emerging of how modules fit together in terms of first, second, and third year. For example, business management 1, 2, and 3, how these modules flowed into each other over the 3 years. But more importantly, perhaps, you will also be able now, as you come to the end of your studies, to perceive the links between different module streams. For example, how the business management related or relates to the marketing. How the business management, the marketing relate to business communication, for example. It's only when you think back about this and you actively reflect on it that you start realizing that there's a bigger picture which emerges. It's almost like when you look at an impressionist painting. When you stand too close to the painting, it's not possible always to understand what goes on in that picture. You need to have some distance between yourself and the painting, and then the little dots of paint start forming a picture. And this is what we hope we will achieve with the work integrated learning module. An opportunity for you to reflect on various concepts from different modules and to see how these interact, relate, and converge into the overall idea of being a good marketer. It also allows you an opportunity to apply concepts that you've studied to the workplace idea or the workplace situation. It is common knowledge that employers are often saying that people come from university after completion of a qualification, but they don't seem to be able to apply that theoretical knowledge to their advantage and to the firm's advantage in the workplace situation. And it's understandable because in studying for the qualification, you are inclined to think only in terms of the theory, and you focused on memorizing theory, memorizing models, frameworks, concepts, and there's not really an opportunity for applying these things because at the end of the day, studying is a meaningless exercise if you don't make use of the knowledge that you've accumulated. So this is an opportunity for you to start this process of applying knowledge in the workplace situation. Hopefully this module also makes you aware of the great value there is in reflection. The other interesting thing that one notices when you read research on this thing of newly qualified people entering the workplace, you will often see that researchers say that it is obvious that people become so obsessed with finishing tasks that they never take the opportunity to reflect on what they've been doing, what they've achieved during a spurt of working on something, a project, or working towards an objective. And the art of reflection is extremely valuable in the management environment. That moment or moments that you take at the end of the day to just close your eyes, think back about what you had done during the day and come to some conclusions in terms of what you've done well, what you could have done better. The art and the act of reflection is part of this continuous learning spiral that is the hallmark of adult learning. And if you are able to reflect well, if you learn the art of reflection, you will embark on a journey of continuous self-improvement. The fourth point there, it opens the mind to the opportunities which can be created for exploring new options in the process of applying theory and theoretical frameworks. It is so common for a group of mature managers to be shown a theoretical model and to be asked to apply that to the workplace situation. And after they've done that, virtually all of them would come out and say, I've gained new insights as a result of this application of rethinking the theory contained in this model. So hopefully, after doing this module, you will think again about getting rid of your textbooks, and your textbooks will go with you to the office, and you will occasionally find the time to dip into the theory again. Think about it. Think about problems that you, or challenges that you are confronted with in the workplace, look for theory, because the theory and the understanding of the theory, which you've now achieved as you go towards the end of your study period, that is immensely valuable in helping you creating and understanding new insights, new understanding. Also, as a result of doing this module, you will get a more, what is the right word, a more active grip, I would say, on the level of complexity which is inherent in the workplace. Workplaces of today are immensely complex. It has many layers of challenge, of cultures, of own personal agendas, of political maneuvering going on in almost every workplace that you walk into nowadays. And we can only assume that this level of complexity will deepen into the future. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that I hope this module will also help you understand that there is no such thing as an obvious solution. Solutions are almost always things that need to be applied with understanding of for the complexity in which they are being thought of. So those are some of the objectives with this module. The reasons for these objectives, I think I've touched on some of them. The fact that it helps you to start thinking in terms of practical application, and practical application is something that employers is looking for. It helps you with the whole idea of reflection and of making reflection part of your daily management task, which will help you in terms of ongoing self-development. And the ideal of ongoing development and improvement in management skills and business process require a few essential skills which are inherent in this module. These skills are reflection, application, problem analysis, and the ability to recognize complexity, analyze complex situations, and to act on the results of the analysis. And I end this background thinking on the module with a reminder of something which I've said earlier, that the reflective mode of management is unfortunately not often used and applied. So if you could learn to practice this reflection as a result of the module, that would be really great. Let's go on to the next slide there. The project itself, I assume that all of you are aware of the submission date, the 15th of May 2017. If my calculations are correct, it's slightly more than 3 weeks from now. So that on that 15th of May, the submission must be done online before a certain time. I'm not sure of the time. Perhaps if one of you is on top of that, you wouldn't mind sharing with us in that dialog box the time at, by which you, or the stipulated time by which you need to submit this online. My advice is to not wait until the 15th of May. See if you can't submit it the day before, because it is inevitable that students find at the last moment that the online submission process is a little bit more time consuming and a little bit more complex than they had thought initially. So Tash says she thinks that it's the normal 3 o'clock in the afternoon cut-off date. Just go and make sure about that. I'm not 100% sure. So make sure that you are aware of the time. This document or this project must be submitted as a single document. So you cannot submit part and then go back and submit the second part and so on. It needs to be one single document. The document must contain citations or in-text citations, depending on how you refer to it, and there must be a reference list on the last page. That is an immensely important requirement. Overall, you need to write this in a style which recognizes the need for an academic framework. So you need to write in the third person, you need to write in an academic style which uses course concepts, course ideas, the language of the different modules which you have already completed must be reflected in this document. The last point there is just to remind you that there is negative marking applied to this document. What does this mean in simple everyday language? It means that you may get 80 or 90% for the content, for the answers that you've given, but then you could have marks deducted for failure to use structure in your answers, failure to number your answers, failure to use in-text citations, or failure to do the reference list at the back according to the Harvard referencing style. So it is really important that you should give attention to those things, because it is always so sad to see people who get 75 or 80% for the project, but then there is negative marking which has happened, so marks need to be deducted, and suddenly you are just passing with 65%, whereas you could have had the full mark which you obtained if you had just used the guidelines in terms of structure, citations, and the reference list. Let's look at the questions individually now. Question 1 is focused on getting you to design a CV. You need to go online and read, maybe go to a library, find a book on this, and see what the suggestions are for designing a contemporary CV. You need to do your own research. There's no prescribed material available on this. but there is definitely if you simply Google it, you will find that there is a lot of information available on the internet. Just remember that you need to reference your material, which you gain from all these other sources. You need to. There are subsections to the question, which requires you to look at theoretical requirements for a good CV. You then have to design the document yourself, and finally, in the third section of the answer, you have to reflect on what you have done and simply comment on things which you think you may still improve on in future in terms of this document, or things which you feel you've done really well in the document. So those are the sections of the CV project which you need to be aware of. One of the students phoned me a few days ago and said that she was going to just use an old CV which she is in any case using to apply for positions. And the idea is for you to exactly not do that, but to develop something new for this project. Just go through the process of drawing up an altogether new document. Ignore the one you already have and try and design a completely new document, because that will enable you to really experience the process of creating this document and of responding to the review section, which is the last part of the answer. Could I ask you if you have any questions about that one? Question 1, which is all about designing a CV. Any questions from anybody? Dash, thank you. Dash is typing question there. Let's give her a few minutes to do that. Dash, I would definitely advise you to do a cover page as well. You have to think in terms of how would a CV look which you are using to practically apply for a position. And normally that CV would have a cover page, and I would therefore recommend that you do use a cover page for this as well. Just as a word of advice, perhaps you've also noticed that there are people who go a bit overboard with creating this cover page. There are all sorts of fancy lettering and pictures and funny things on it. Just try to steer clear of that type of thing and keep it as a formal document with simplicity and a good, strong structure. Don't try and stay clear of little pictures and all sorts of funny things which may distract the reader often, rather than improve the reader's perception of you, right? Dash, thank you for asking that question. Let's move on to question 2. In this question, we ask of you to describe your learning journey at the IMM. In other words, think back about what had happened to you over this period of time which you spent with the IMM graduate school. Your time of study with the IMM graduate school. Think in terms of what are the new things that I've learned? What are the interesting experiences I've had? And write the story into those sections around which the question is structured. Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer for this question. So how will the marker mark it? The marker won't be using a template or a memorandum to mark this. The marker will look for the deeper sharing of experience or experiences that you've had while you were studying. In other words, the marker will almost rely on the extent to which you are able to instill deep reflection in this answer. So this is going to be an interesting one for the marker to read. I hope that I'll be marking some of these because I think people have fascinating stories, and I hope that your time at the IMM graduate school was a fascinating time for you, and that you can reflect on it with recognition of the growth and the development which happened in you in terms of your knowledge, but also in terms of your personality and how your personality may have adapted over the years. What are your most important lessons that you take away from this study time? So it's more than just recounting your experiences. We hope that you will go for deeper reflection and for sharing some of the great moments, or maybe the not so happy moments that you had studying with the IMM. Any questions on that one? Or is that clear and we can move on? See no questions there. Right. Let's look at question 3. Now, this question doesn't count much. It's only up for 10 marks there. So it's not a lot, but you need to be quite careful in answering the question because it asks for very specific things. And, you know, it's almost like a speech. If they tell you to make a speech at a ceremony or at a birthday party or at a wedding, the longer they allow you to talk, the easier it is to prepare for the session, for the speech. But short speeches require a lot of preparation and practice. And with this question, the same rule applies. There are only 10 marks available, but you need to be sure that you know what you're doing when you answer this question. It essentially asks of you to choose a model from a list which we give you, there are 4 possible models that you can choose from, and you need to apply it to a situation, a workplace situation, or if you're not working yet, if you're a full-time student, you can apply it to another type of situation, possibly to a social club that you belong to a church group you belong to, or a drama society situation of which you were part. It's fairly wide open in terms of the type of situation you prefer to use, but you need to make sure that you are able to apply that model to the situation and that it is a coherent and logically unfolding piece of writing which you do there. For question 3. It's if you once you've done this, once you've answered this question, you are likely to say to yourself, wow, that was a lot of work to do for so few marks. But it's an interesting exercise, and I hope you will also enjoy doing it. Great. So that was question 3. Any questions on that question? Anything you would like to ask or get more clarity on? Just giving you a minute or 2 to look at that and think of perhaps something you would like more clarity on. Okay, it looks as if most people are okay with that, and we can therefore move on to question 4, the career action plan. Most people, when they come to the end of their careers, reflect on their careers and think to themselves that they should have been more active in managing their careers. When you read a bit about this, about career management, you will see that people who write about this, people who have studied this as a subject, often make the remark that most people have their careers happening to them. And the right thing to do is actually to actively manage your career. It is such an important event in your life that you need to take control of it, and to take control of it right from the start. And with this question, we give you the opportunity to start thinking of your career as a series of definable successes which you want to achieve through the next few years, and to start working and thinking in terms of those successes, so that you do not go out there and find that somebody else is managing your career for you, that you become a happy and fulfilled person in your career, and that you enjoy the process of achieving one success after the other, one objective after the other. You could perhaps think in terms of what are the other qualifications which you want to achieve as part of your career plan. Are you perhaps thinking of doing the honours program by, let's say, the end of 2018 you want to have the honours as part of your qualification. All that type of thing which will help you in your career and will help you build a solid foundation and a future in your career. You need to think of when answering this question. You will see that this question carries the heaviest weight in this project. So there are 45 marks available to it, and we give you great guidance in terms of the content. We give you suggestions in terms of subheadings to use. We give you guidance in terms of what to put under these subheadings. So it could become a living document for you if you do it well. And if you do it with a longer term vision, with a longer term plan, and not only to pass the module, but make of it a career goal or instrument which you will be able to adapt, add to, and make part of your working life as you go through it. Okay, so that was question 4, which is the final question. So just to briefly reflect on the questions. Question 1 focuses on developing a CV. The second question is asking you to reflect on your learning journey with the IMM, the years that you've spent here, the semesters that you've completed here. The third question challenges you to apply a theoretical model to a real-world situation or event. And question 4 then is focusing on tools, frameworks, and techniques for planning your career into the future. So those are the 4 questions which you need to complete for this project. Just for interest's sake, can I ask you to just indicate how you feel about having to do this? Do you see and think of it as an onerous, boring thing, or do you think that there will be some value for you in completing this, some real positive outcomes, and not only in terms of your marks, but also in terms of your future? You are welcome to just type a comment, tell me how you feel. I'd really appreciate that. She's typing. Hopefully more people will feel inclined to make a comment. That would be really great. Bongani is joining in. Thank you for doing that. Also typing away. Okay. Dash is saying something very positive. She feels that it will give a better perspective uh, about where she wants to be in the future. Uh, you may have the idea about where you want to go with your life and with your career in your head, but writing it down helps you to make it real. That's a really valuable comment. Uh, and it is so true. You remind us of the fact that there is almost a commitment that you make to yourself when you write this down, when you write your objectives down, uh, when you write the target dates down. Um, Bongani says that it looks like an interesting project, which is great, and it has a lot to do with career planning, journey planning. Yeah, exactly. Um, Bongani, now that you mention it, can you see that there is um, an aspect of looking back and looking forward in this project? You're looking back at your experiences, and hopefully uh, it will inform you in terms of your strengths, your abilities, your development areas, and looking at the future and how you will tackle these things. Um, the, the, I don't know if there are any readers amongst you of Greek mythology, but there's this uh, what is it? A story about Janus, the god who could look to the future and look back at the same time. So it's something like that. Janus project for you, and it will hopefully be a good experience, Bongani. I hope so. Um, I, I, sorry. I hope you will enjoy doing it. Um, I have as the last um, slide there a list of things which I would really like you to keep in mind in completing this. Um, make sure that you are fully on board in terms of what each question is actually asking you to do. It, it always saddens me when I mark work which had been submitted for assessment, and I see beautiful writing, beautiful ideas, clear thinking, um, great focus, all of that, but the student is not answering the question. So the, the student does not score a good mark. Uh, you can only get marks for content which is in line with the question. So make sure with every question that you're fully uh, on board in terms of what it is asking you to do. Make use of headings and subheadings. This gives structure and format to your uh, report. Remember that it is a basic requirement for academic material that headings and subheadings need to be numbered. So make sure that you do that for every one of the headings and the subheadings. Leave open spaces between paragraphs. You might think it's a superfluous comment to make, but I've just finished marking the batch of assignments again, and you won't believe me when I tell you that there are many students who hand in material for assessment consisting of a full page just solid words, and nobody can read that sort of thing and understand it and comprehend it fully. Uh, Leave space between paragraphs. Uh, Keep in mind the idea of one major idea per paragraph, and keep your paragraphs short, uh, because it's simply easier to read. And you want the marker to feel that he or she is doing an easy job, uh, because it leads to better marks. Simply, uh, that's a simple fact. Um, every new answer on a new page, so question 2 shouldn't complete a page on which you ended question 1. Make sure that every new answer is on a new page. In-text citations are very, very important. I already mentioned that in the beginning. Be mindful of that, please. And remember to give us a reference list on the final page. Your final page must always have as a heading the words reference list, not bibliography. For this, you are likely to just label it reference list, and the list then follows of the sources which you consulted for completing this project. Have a look again at the Harvard referencing style guide, which is available on eLearn under study support. Make sure that you get hold of that reference list and that you compile your or get hold of that document and you compile your reference list strictly according to those guidelines. Use spell check on your document. It is such a disappointment when one reads an answer and it is riddled with poor spelling. Make use of your spell check and make sure that as far as it is reasonably possible, you submit a document which is free of spelling errors. Avoid errors of syntax. In other words, grammar errors. If you have somebody who likes reading or who may be an editor, it's really worthwhile to give your document to that person to just go through and ask them to mark or point out to you syntax errors. Because I don't know if you've had the experience, but I've certainly experienced it often, that you spend so much time with a document, working on it, that you become used to the flow of the sentences and the way in which the words have been unpacked, and you overlook the errors in it. So a fresh eye, somebody who has not seen the document before, can look at it and immediately pick up on errors which you have overlooked because you're so familiar with the document. And the last point there is just a repeat of something I said earlier, that negative marking is applicable to this submission. So marks will be deducted for failure to use citations, failure to use referencing notes or referencing, what's the right word, a reference list according to the Harvard referencing style, failure to use commas, headings and subheadings, and so on. Make sure that these basic things are in place, and you could be sure then not be possible for the marker to deduct any marks anywhere. That is a quick run through the project, a quick look at the questions. There will be another session like this as we get closer to the submission date. On the 2nd of May, I will do another session like this one with a slightly different focus, but essentially with the same underlying message. So if you want to have another look at this, share another session with me on this, the 2nd of May will be an opportunity for you to do so. This particular session, which we had tonight, will of course be made available on the module website. You will see it there in a week or so. So you can go back to it, look at the slides again, listen to the audio again. It will be made available there. That's been the end of my story. Do you have any questions or any comments? I'm going to give you a few minutes to type up questions and comments if you feel like it, if there's something that you would like to have clarified. See Dash is typing a question or a comment there. Okay, thank you, Dash, for the positive feedback. Thank you so much to you for participating so diligently and with such good positive energy. It was great to have you in the group. Thank you very much for that. It looks as if there are no further comments or questions. So all that I can do then now is to say good night to you. Thank you very much for taking time off to attend the session, and I wish you every success with this project, but also with the upcoming exam season. I hope it goes very well for you. It is a time of nervousness, tension, and some anxiety, but I hope that you will be able to look back on it with positive feelings and with good results. Thank you, and my very best wishes to you. Good night.